The third element for building trust or ethos is vulnerability. Just being real. Like self-deprecation really helps, not taking yourself too seriously, but also self-disclosure. And I've got to tell you, of all the research I came across over the last few years as I've looked at this whole theme, one that really stood out to me because it surprised me, it was the opposite of what I imagined the researchers would have found in the study, was some work done by Kip Williams, who's a social psychologist. And what Kip did is he actually did a meta-analysis of legal cases and looked at the point in which, in legal proceedings, the jury began to favour one side's argument over another. And he said it was consistent in so many legal cases that he studied, hundreds of them. The point at which the jury began to favour one side's arguments was when that solicitor brought to the table evidence or information that actually worked against their own case. It's almost like an own goal. It was just acknowledging that we've got all the things that make our point, but there's a few things that don't line up with our argument. I'm just going to acknowledge that with you. The key was you had to bring that stuff to the table before the opposing side did. Why? Because if all you're telling is the arguments that make your point, what is the other person, in this case the jury, doing? They're thinking, okay, what are you not telling me? What's the other side of the argument that I'm not hearing here? By you being upfront and being open, being candid, you literally neutralize that tendency to be looking for the holes in your argument. It makes people want to trust you. So I would suggest to you one of the best things you can do if you want to get someone on board with your ideas or your perspective is instead of trying to upsell them, unsell your ideas. In fact, I saw this principle in action recently. So my wife and I did a driving test in an EV because we're trying to figure out, like, is it time to get an EV yet? Or is it too early? Because, in a country as big as Australia, it's tricky when we haven't got a lot of the charging infrastructure yet. So we went for a test drive in an EV, and if I'm honest, I was sitting in the back, and my arms weren't folded physically, but mentally I was like a bit stubborn. I'm like, I bet these things still don't have the range needed. Like, we still don't have the charging stuff. I'm just not open to the idea, really. I'd like to be intellectually, but I'm just not so sure. So I asked the guy who's doing the driving test with us the question, so what's the range like on these things? Fully expecting he was going to highball a number and tell me, it's just brilliant, you'll never have an issue. He didn't. He did the opposite. He said, so the manufacturer will tell you it's probably 470 Ks on a full charge. He said, if I were you, I'd take 20% off that. Because when they do those tests, it's in a lab and there's no wind and there's no rain and the road surface is smooth. And I noticed within myself that whole posture of stubbornness evaporated because he'd been honest. He'd been candid. And it's amazing the difference this can make. So I want to give you some phrasing now that if you can use this, if you can preface an argument or an idea or a line of thinking with these sorts of phrases, it'll unsell them. It'll make the other person feel more open to what you're suggesting. So you might want to try these in the next couple of days. Just preface it with things like, hey, I could be way off here. I might be wrong. I could be wrong. In fact, I probably am wrong. But just what about? You just suggest it. This may or may not be relevant. I'm still not 100% sure about this myself. Hey, take this for what it is, but. And if you can preface arguments, ideas, suggestions with these sorts of phrases, it's amazing the difference this makes.